Welcome to SAT Prep Thursday. Today we're going to be doing College Board SAT Practice Test number 9, Part 4, numbers 20 through 38. This is a calculator approved section, so I will be using either the TI-30XS or the TI-30XA. Also, there's a link in the description for this practice test. For question 20, we're going to use the following information. Jennifer bought a box of Crunchy Grain cereal. The nutrition facts on the box state that the serving size of cereal is 3/4 of a cup and provides 210 calories, 50 of which are calories from fat. In addition, each serving of the cereal provides 180 milligrams of potassium, which is 5% of the daily allowance. Which of the following could be the graph of the number of calories from fat in Crunchy Grain cereal as a function of the number of 3/4 cup servings of the cereal? Let's start with a really simple idea. How many calories would you get if you ate no cereal at all? Well, that would be 0. So this can't be an answer, this can't be an answer, and this can't be an answer, meaning A must be the solution. The graph of the exponential function h in the xy plane, where y is equal to h of x, has a y-intercept of d, where d is a positive constant. Which of the following could be defined as h? So we're looking at an exponential function, which is going to give us y is equal to a to the rt. And really what we can do is we can understand that what we're seeing here is h of x is going to be equal to d times r to the x, just so that we're talking in the same terms that this equation is. The y-intercept, or the d, must be positive, so d must be greater than 0, which is going to eliminate a as a possible solution. We can also see that x, it's going to wind up really... it's the exponent, which means that we don't have this right here. This is not even in exponential form. Also very helpful to start out with, because what we do not know is the rate. And since we do not know the rate, we know that d is going to be a number that's positive, but x is in the exponent, which means we eliminate c and d is the answer. The weight in pounds for 15 horses in a stable were reported, and the mean, median, and range standard deviation of the data were found. The horses with the lowest reported weight was found to actually weigh 10 pounds less than its reported weight. What value remains unchanged in the 4 values reported? So the key here is just understanding that we're talking about which of these remains unchanged. And of these, the one that will not change as a calculation is the middle, because the lowest simply moved to a new lower number. It would still be removed along with the highest as you were trying to find the median. So the median is unchanged, where the average weight would go down some, the range would go up because they would be farther away, and the standard deviation would change because the median changed. Because the mean changed. Near the end of a U.S. cable news show, the host invited viewers to respond to a poll on the show's website to ask, do you support the new federal policy discussed during the show? At the end of the show, the host reported that 28% responded yes and 70% responded no. Which of the following best explains why the results are unlikely to represent the sentiments of the population of the United States? So we have to understand right here this U.S. cable news show. And this means that whoever watches it does have some viewer bias. Left wing doesn't tend to watch right wing, and right wing doesn't tend to watch left wing. And so there's a division. The percentages do not add up to 100%, so any possible conclusion from the poll is invalid, which is not true, because when you deal with anything in statistics, there's always going to be a plus or minus variation to cover for any kind of mistakes. Those who responded to the poll were not a randomly selection of the population of the United States, which is true. It is only people who were watching that news show. There were not 50% yes response and 50% no response. That doesn't mean that the poll would be invalid for that reason. You simply could be very split on where people stand on a topic. The show did not allow viewers enough time to respond to the poll. And that doesn't seem true because they started it with the show and said, at the end of the show, this is what we're going to do. So there was plenty of time there. If f of x is equal to 5x squared minus 3 and f of x plus a is equal to 5x squared plus 30x plus 42, what is the value of a? So let's take a look at this. F of x is equal to 5x squared minus 3. And let's put f of a into it. This is going to give us f of x plus a is equal to 5 times x plus a squared minus 3. Multiplying this entirely out, we're going to wind up with 5 times x squared plus 2ax plus a squared minus 3. So if I multiply the 5 all the way out, I'm going to wind up with 5x squared plus 10ax plus a squared minus 3. So if we were to look at the f of x plus a, that's going to give us 5x squared plus 30x plus 42. Now this means that 10ax and 30x must be equal to each other. So I can put 10ax equals 30x, get rid of those x's, divide both sides by 10, so a is 3, giving us c is the answer. If sine of x degrees is equal to a, which of the following must be true for all values of x? Well, I start by considering the triangle, a right triangle, where I'm going to have x degrees, an opposite, adjacent, and a hypotenuse. That means that this angle right here would be equal to 90 minus x. The sine of an angle is equal to the opposite over a hypotenuse. Cosine of an angle is equal to adjacent over a hypotenuse. In this case, if I said the cosine of 90 minus x, this would be equal to a over h. Would be equal to O over h in this case because the O is showing the adjacent side hypotenuse. Now I have two opposite hypotenuse in this triangle. This would mean in this case the sine of x is equal to a, and that the cosine of 90 minus x is equal to a, which means that C is the answer. The quadratic function above models the height above the ground h in feet of a projectile x seconds after it has been launched vertically. If y is equal to h of x is graphed on the xy plane, which of the following represents the real-life meaning of the positive x-intercept of the graph? So the whole thing is about this positive x-intercept of the graph. Let's just understand that a thing was fired into the air and it came down. Now, if it was fired in the air here, there's a negative x-intercept that doesn't really exist in this case, and a positive x-intercept. This is when the object would hit the ground, so D is the answer. In the xy plane, the graph of the polynomial function f crosses the x-axis at exactly 2 points, a0 and b0, where a and b are both positive. Which of the following could define f? Let's go ahead and eliminate this case right here because there's 3 x's, so there's 3 possible answers. We know that we're dealing with a case that looks either like this or like this, and that it crosses at an x minus a. This is going to be a positive number, so ignore that, that's not the, and it's going to wind up being an x minus b, another positive number. So I need an x minus a, x minus b, can't be, so a is the answer. If y is equal to 3x squared plus 6x plus 2 is graphed in the xy plane, which of the following characteristics of the graph is displayed as a constant or coefficient of the equation? So the thing is right here, this number, if I was looking at a graph and I was graphing this, this would mean at 2, there would be 2 points that this parabola crossed. Now this is a smiley face parabola, so it probably would look something like this. There would be 2 points, but this is a y-intercept, meaning C is going to wind up being our answer. The scatter plot above shows the federal mandated minimum wage every 10 years between 1940 and 2010. The line of best fit is shown, and its equation is y is equal to 0.096x minus 0.488. What does the line of best fit predict about the increase in the minimum wage over the 70-year period? Does it predict that each year between 1940 and 2010, the average increase in minimum wage was $0.96? Well, that is what's written as the change, the mx plus b, the slope. So this certainly appears to be true. Does it show that each year between 1940 and 2010, the average increase in minimum wage was $0.49? No, this 0.488 was the starting point, so this is certainly not true. Does it show that every 10 years between 1940 and 2010, the average increase in minimum wage was 0.096? No, we're talking about really a yearly, so it's the 10-year problem. Every 10 years between 1940 and 2010, the average increase in minimum wage was 0.488. Once again, that was the starting point, so D is not the answer. The scatter plot above shows a company's ice cream sales D in dollars and the high temperatures T in degrees Celsius on 12 different days. A line of best fit for the data is also shown. Which of the following could be an equation for the line of best fit? So let's track this line backwards. And the thing is, this looks like it should be just about at 400. However, this is a horrible graph because do you see where it starts? It starts at 10, not 0. And the intervals that are going on are in 2s, which means if I was at 0 here, this line would go, quite a bit back. So it can't be near 400. So these near 400s can't be the answer because the graph, which was horribly made to trick you, so always watch those graphs. Now we want to figure out what the slope is. So let's choose 2 points. I'm choosing this point because it's very close to that intersection. This is going to give me 12 and about 480. And I'm choosing this point because it's right on the 24. And it's at about 880. I'm going to go to figure out the slope, which means 880 minus 480 over 24 minus 12. And this is going to give me approximately 33, which means I have a slope of 33. Isn't that awfully nice? Let's go ahead and find out what happens at one of these points. Let's use y is mx plus b. And let's use this point 12, 480. This would mean that 480 would be equal to 33 times 12 plus b. So 33 times 12 would give me 396. Subtract it from both sides, I would get 84 is equal to b, which means that D is the answer. In the xy plane above, the circle has a center HK and a radius of 10. What is the value of K? So here's the thing. If I see this right here is an isosceles triangle, which means that this point is in the middle of 4 and 20. So I get to go ahead and say 20 plus 4 divided by 2 is 12. So H is located at 12. One of the things we do know that's going on is that the radius is equal to 10. So if I were to deal with the equation of the circle and the point 40, this would mean that I would have 4 minus 12 squared plus 0 minus k squared is equal to 10 squared. Now 4 minus 12 is 8, or negative 8, and negative 8 squared is 64. This is going to be plus k squared equals 100, which means I can subtract 64 from both sides, giving me k squared is equal to 36, or that k is equal to 6. In the xy plane, line L has a y-intercept of negative 13 and is perpendicular to a line with an equation y is equal to negative 2 over 3x. If the point 10b is on line L, what is the value of b? Let's start with this equation right here. I know that there is on this graph through the origin a line that is y is equal to negative 2 over 3x plus 0 because it goes through the origin. That means in this case, b is equal to 0. Now, because the line we're looking for is perpendicular, then its slope will be the opposite inverse of 2 over 3, of negative 2 over 3, which means a positive 3 over 2. It has a y-intercept of negative 13, meaning the line is y is equal to 3 over 2 x minus 13. Now we want to know what goes on at 10b. What happens when x is 10? So b, now the new y, is equal to 3 over 2 times 10 minus 13. So that means 3 times 5, which is 15, minus 13, so B is 2. The human blood can be classified into 4 common blood types, A, B, AB, and O. It is also characterized by the presence of a positive or negative of the rhesus factor. The table above shows the distribution of blood type and rhesus factor for a group of people. If one of these people who was rhesus negative is chosen at random, the probability that the person has blood type B is 1 over 9. What is the value of X? So we're going to start with this very simple idea that we're talking about trying to find the B out of all of these. And the B was 2, and all of them were 7 plus 2 plus 1 plus x. Now it said the chance of that was 1 out of 9. So if we're trying to solve for x, then I can add up all of this and get a 10 plus x as the denominator here. So 10 plus x times 1 would give me 10 plus x as this numerator. And 2 times 9 means it is equal to 18. So if I subtract 10 from both sides, I wind up with 8 is equal to x. Based on the graph above, in how many of the games did the soccer team score goals equal to the median number of goals for the 29 games? So the first thing we need to do is find the median. So we have a 1 that occurs here and a 1, a 1, 2, and a 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, and a 1, 2, 3, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which means that the median occurs here in the 2. So how many games did they score the same goals as the median? Well, 9. Gisela would owe $15,500 in taxes each year if she were not eligible for any tax deductions. This year, Gisela is eligible for tax deduction that reduced the amount of taxes she owes by $2,325. If these tax deductions reduce taxes Gisela owes this year by D%, what is the value of D? So we're looking at 2325 divided by 15,500 times 100 to get a percent as an answer, and that's going to equal D. This means we're looking at 15% is D. The system equations above has no solution. If A and B are constants, what is the value of A over B? Let's start by turning both of these into y equals functions so that we can do a substitution. So if I'm looking at this one, I would get ax minus by is equal to 9. Solving for y is going to give me y is equal to negative a over bx minus 9 over b. Looking at this one, starting with 3 over 4x minus 1/2 y is equal to 12, solving for y is going to give me y is equal to 3 over 2x minus 24. Now, I am entirely trying to solve for a over b, which I have right here. A over b and 3 over 2, they're in the same place, so I get 3 over 2 is equal to a over b. This means that a is equal to 3 and b is equal to 2. So 3 over 2 is our answer. For questions 37 and 38, refer to the following information. The table above shows the number of international tourist arrivals, rounded to the nearest tenth of a million, to the top 9 tourist destinations in both 2012 and 2013. Based on the information given in the table, how much greater in millions was the median number of international tourist arrivals to the top 9 tourist destinations in 2013, the median number in 2012 to the nearest tenth of a million? So the first thing we're going to need to do in this table is find the median, which means ticking off the top and the bottom. Again, the bottom, the top, the bottom, the top, the bottom, the top, so that we can find our median numbers. This would mean that 47.7 minus 46.4 will give us 1.3 million. The number of international tourist arrivals in Russia in 2012 was 13.5% greater than in 2011. The number of international tourist arrival in Russia was K million more than 2012, or in 2012 than in 2011. What is the value of K to the nearest integer? So 13.5 greater, what this really means is we're talking about 1.135. So y is equal to 1.135x. From the table, we also know that y is equal to 24.7, which really means that 24.7 is equal to 1.35x, or 21.8 is approximately x. So 24.7 minus 21.8 will give us 2.9, which then rounds to 3.